All right, welcome into the Chase and Big Joe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game on this awesome Monday, 2 days before Christmas. Chase McCabe is off today. He is back in New York City getting another certification from LinkedIn for managing cloud storage. So instead, Dr. Crane's in today, and David James in the booth. Dr. Crane, how are you, buddy?
I'm great. I feel like a lot of Nashville Titans fans for sure need some medication today after that odd, weird game comeback / thrashing. I don't know how to really describe that. That was awful.
It was terrible, and we'll get into a lot of that too. David James behind the glass. David, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing fantabulous. Just enjoying this beautiful day here in Nashville. Like with my two good dearest friends, you and Nick Frazier.
What's his name? Yeah, Nick Frazier.
that guy. I don't know his name. It's a doctor apparently.
I'm an anomaly.
Something that's over there. All right. So obviously we start with the Titans, and here's the thing. And I listened to Robbie and Joe, and they had so many great points, but I'm done. I'm out. I was out last week. I'm out this time. And Titans fans, do you really want this back next year? They're terrible. Up and down. That and don't start. Somebody sent me a note and said, well, they lost by one score yesterday. It was 38-7, and the Colts had already packed it out. They were done. They had already hit the shower, and they were already at dinner. So don't tell me that. It's just, I don't know, Dr. Crane, how much more do we need to see? How much do you really want this to come back next year? I don't. I'm out.
I'm kind of right there with you. This team, it's just, there's zero direction. There's zero culture. There's just zero of everything. I wouldn't say zero effort, because there was football players on that field yesterday that actually put up some points. So I can't say there was zero effort. As for the comments people make about this team being soft, I don't know if soft's the right way to say it or describe this team. It just leaves me at a loss of words, but I'm completely out on this team for sure.
How about this? They're just not good. Let's stop all the soft things. The defense yesterday was awful. Anthony Richardson threw the ball 11 times. 11 times. And that Colts team rushed for what? 300 yards rushing?
335.
Yeah. That's awful. That is absolutely awful. That, to me, that's a lack of effort. I'm sorry, it is.
I don't know if you know this, Joe, but the Colts yesterday rushing for 335 yards was the most in a game in franchise history. And as their previous rushing record was 318 yards on October 28th, 1956 versus the Green Bay Packers, when the franchise was based in Baltimore. It's also the most rushing yards by any team in a game this season. And that's courtesy of Teron Davenport and ESPN Stats and Info.
All right. Thank you, Teron. Yeah, I appreciate that. Let me ask you this, and this is for our listeners out there too. We want to hear from you. 615-737-1025. You can call or text, whatever. What is there in this team to be excited about going forward? There's not a single thing to be excited about going forward on this football team. Am I missing something on that?
No, for me, the thing that gets me excited is the draft. I know that sounds kind of odd to say, but I'm excited about the draft because now that, the Raiders ended up beating the Jacksonville Jaguars yesterday, it bumped the Titans up another spot. I think they're fourth right now, near the bottom of the league. So that gives them the fourth, spot in the draft. So this should be something to watch for. I had a comment I made about 2-3 weeks ago. Are the Titans talking themselves back into a top 3 spot? And it seems like that.
Oh, I'm with you on that. You know what? All right, follow me on this one. What if Amy Adams calls up Mike Vrabel and says, I'm sorry, would you like to be my head coach and general manager? What would your reaction be to that, Dr. Crane?
I would just die laughing. I would be chuckling all day long. I'd probably go grab some breakfast, read the newspaper again, like that actually did happen, and just start laughing again. It's just one of those things where I don't think she would do it. I think she just she's, I don't want to say egotistical, but she's just too much full of herself for that to happen.
But I think a majority of Titans fans would love that. It'll never happen, and I understand that. But I think a large majority, it's probably redundant, of Titans fans would absolutely love that. Because look, as a head coach in football, if you're not calling plays and you can delegate, you can still be a GM because all you're worried about is game day. If you're a head coach, GM, you got everything else going on there. You get your coordinators. Brian Callahan, to me, as an offensive coordinator trying to figure things out, it's even worse. I'm sure he's a nice guy. That's fine. But this is not working, man. And I don't know. It'd be funny if that happened with Vrabel and comes back as a head coach and general manager. It would be like, what in the world's going on here? I'd love it. And I think Titans fans would love it too, even though you'd be like, nah, that'd be terrible. You'd love it because you bring back discipline, you bring back character, you bring back some passion. That dude hated losing. I'm not saying Brian Callahan likes losing, but I mean, Vrabel wore his emotions on his sleeves, and sometimes we get angry about that. But I don't know, man. I'm out on this whole thing. It's just so bad.
I think you're right, though, Joe. I mean, if Mike Vrabel were to come back as a Titans GM / head coach, it would just bring more of a stability factor, in my opinion. I'm not saying Rand Carthon and Brian Callahan don't have the stability for their future in their career for some sort of franchise in the near future if it is the Titans. But with Mike Vrabel, we got to see what he was for face value on the field. Sure, obviously, near the end of his stint here in Nashville, the well ran dry for sure. But
yeah,
with him, you were able to see direction. I mean, obviously, you just said he didn't stand for losing. I mean, it reminds me a lot of the Mike Tomlins of the NFL with the Pittsburgh Steelers, not having a losing season in 12 plus years, something like that.
He's never had a losing season.
Oh, well, even better. Like that's the thing
is 2007. He's been 500 or better since 2007.
See, and I think that's something that Mike Vrabel kind of resembled from a coach to another coach. And that's kind of exactly what you need in the NFL. I mean, sure, Titans are, are always in the middle of like the mucky middle and stuff, but I think I'd rather be there than be at rock bottom.
And here's the thing too. And Rex wrote to this earlier, and I was like, what? It's like, well, if you fire Callahan, he goes someplace else, becomes a great coach. It's like, well, we had him here. What are you seeing that Callahan could go someplace else and do this? Am I missing that as well? And I stop that talk about, well, they're going to go someplace else and succeed. They're not succeeding here. I don't care what they do anyplace else. They're not getting it done here. And that's what I'm worried about. That's what I'm concerned about. I don't care if he goes to the Chargers and does what. I don't care. But they're not doing the job here. In 2014, I'm telling you, this team I see on the field, and the 2014 team was awful. This team I'm seeing now in the field in 24 is worse than that 14 team. And it's just the effort and the desire. To me, I don't see it there. And so you kept Whisenhunt for another year. What happened? You fired him 7 games into that season. Then you had to restart all over again. You got John Robinson in here, and it started going on. I just don't see any foundational pieces. I don't see any hope, man. I'm sorry. I just don't right now.
I mean, Joe, if you were the armchair GM in this situation, where do you start to rebuild or restructure or whatever it is to kind of get the Titans back to relevancy? I mean, they're now I wouldn't say a dumpster fire, but they're a just bottom of the barrel type franchise.
Stop overpaying for guys. Ridley did not deserve that contract. The 2 cornerbacks did not deserve that contract. Snead and Cheeto, they did not deserve that. So I don't know. I mean, they've just gone down this awful road where it's going to take so many pieces to put back together. It's going to be a while. I mean, it's, you look at the Raiders, Dr. Crane, they went to the Super Bowl in 2002, lost to the Buccaneers. They've been in the playoff 1 time since then. They drafted bad. They overpaid guys and didn't get anywhere. And the Titans have done that. I mean, the Ridley contract, it's, man. And the quarterback contracts is just so much money there. I don't know, man. I don't know where to start. New head coach, not a first-time head coach who's calling the plays, who has no idea what he's doing. And then don't tell me, don't go to some press conference and start dropping F-bombs, tell me how passionate you are when you're 3-12 and you're not good. As I told you, Dr. Crane, it's like the mafia, man. It's not personal, it's business. Slap them on the back and go. See ya. Take care. Thanks for your effort in 2024, but we're moving on.
It's almost like don't go against the family as well, because like if you're a coach and you do that to your team, you're going against your family. That's the problem with me as well. I mean, it reminded me a lot of what's his name, Gerard Mayo up there in New England when he called this team out earlier in the season and tried to get a response out of them. He did get a little bit of a response, but it wasn't what I think he was thinking of. I believe they won that week as well. So I mean, as for the Titans, they came out. I think I'll say this about the Titans. They're a great first quarter team. I mean, a great first quarter team. If they had to base their whole season off first quarter results. I mean, they're a playoff team, but they're not. And we don't go off first quarter. You have to play a full 4 quarters. So with that being said,
That's right.
this team it needs a lot of help. It needs some Jesus. It needs everything.
It does. Somebody's like, well, look at the way they play. Why can't they play the fourth quarter like that all the time? The Colts were done. They had a prevent defense in there. They were so done in this. It wasn't even funny. And on the text line says, this is absolute rock bottom. Why not play Will Levis? Tells me Callahan knows he's in trouble and grasping at straws. And perfect text on that to say that about Will Levis. Ken says, Callahan seems to be a nice guy, but Dr. Crane, as we know, nice guys what? Finish last.
They do. They finish last indeed. And to the point of the text, I think it was Ed that mentioned, why can't the Titans play like this every game in the fourth quarter? And you mentioned about the prevent defense. I mean, on the offensive side of the ball for Indianapolis, I think Jonathan Taylor didn't check in until halfway through the third quarter.
I think so, yeah.
So, like, with that being said, they had everybody sitting on the bench. Like, they were being treated as I don't know. I don't want to call them Super Bowl team, but the Colts looked really, really good. The Titans made them look really, really good. And it's just unfortunate because this Titans team 2-3 years ago were a team to be talking about every single week in and week out. Now they're, let's see what we can scrap up about the Titans. Like, it's that bad. And so,
yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm with you.
And to the second point about the texture, like talking about Will Levis, putting him in, everybody knows I've been out on Will Levis probably for, 8 weeks now. I think it was after the Miami game when he had that AC joint injury. And I kept telling Connor Newton and Jake Lyman, I was like, listen, you're going to see signs of regression and signs of progression with Will Levis, and it's going to get you stuck in the mucky middle. And I mentioned earlier saying the Titans as a franchise being stuck in the mucky middle, I'd be okay with that rather than a top draft pick. Whereas for quarterback purposes, I don't want a quarterback that's stuck in the mucky middle. I want a quarterback that shows some sort of direction, like I mentioned earlier to start the show, and a sign of leadership. When you force a second-year quarterback as a captain, and yet he's not showing signs of leadership, even when he's benched, that goes to show you the culture there is absolutely at rock bottom, and it frustrates the living hell out of me.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. I can't believe the captain is, a year in, not even a full year, 10 or 12 games into your season, you're a captain being named that way. And so I just, there's so much to figure out there and go on and to see. And so I just think, look, and it's another thing. Let us know what excites you about bringing Brian Callahan back next year. And look, let's stop this real quick. How about Amy Adams? Well, she's already paying John Robinson and Mike Vrabel. She's worth several $billions. It's not like she's got to go down to F&M Bank and take out a loan. She can pay all these people off. So stop with the crybaby talk about, well, she's paying these people. Who cares? She's worth a couple $1 billion. She could cut a check, and she's done it before. She's paid multiple coaches before, and she's doing it right now on this. So just stop with all that, what goes on. All right, Dr. Crane, we'll take our first break. We'll want your reaction, 615-737-1025. What do you feel? You want Callahan back? You want this front office back? I'm out on all of them. I just clean house. Again, just clean house. We want to hear from you this morning. Dr. Crane's in for Chase McCabe. This is the Chase and Big Joe Show, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. All right, welcome back to the Chase and Big Joe show here at 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Taking your reaction to what's going on and what happened this weekend with the Vols and the Titans. We'll get to the Vols in a little bit. Dr. Crane, take the floor, brother.
Yes, sir. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. And if you want to call or text, you can call or text the 1025 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And, Joe, we're talking about the Titans here, and Lord have mercy, this team needs a little something, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah, Kevin on the text line says, please stop the GM head coach combo talk. That does not work. That's complete nonsense. Tell me why that's nonsense. Because if you're a head coach on game day, you have coordinators. You're worried about the in-game situation. You're not calling plays. You know, I know head coaches at all levels, and they're like, all right, you make the call about, do we go for it on fourth down or this and that? You're not so much invested into what your coordinators are doing. You can do both. I don't know why that's nonsense talk. Am I wrong with this? I probably am, but I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. I mean, maybe to some degree, sure, but no, you're not far off at all. And I don't know if you heard Paul Kaharski at all on Robbie and Rex Road, but I think he was talking about Arden Key, and somebody asked him about like changes to the coaching staff. There hasn't been much change. Like that has to tell you something. And I mean, that has to tell you something too about the GM and head coach. There is no change from one regime to the next. That's concerning. That is 100% concerning.
Right. No, you're right. And also the good point that Ed made earlier, or I think it was on the text line, about Callahan knows to me, I think Callahan knows his job in jeopardy when he starts Mason Rudolph, because he thinks that Rudolph gave him a better shot at winning and having a better record. And I don't know, man. I mean, Rudolph was okay yesterday. I don't know. I mean, so Will Levis is done, I guess. There's so many questions and ways to go that it's very frustrating covering this team.
Yeah, it is. And you mentioned it, if Will Levis is either gone with the Titans or somewhere else. And to me, I hear all the comments about how, if you keep Will Levis for another season, what's it going to hurt? I mean, he's just another backup quarterback for the Titans. In my opinion, you get rid of him. Obviously, people think, well, he's a free quarterback. Easily, you could use him. No, for me, it's culture. If the Titans want to really right the wrongs and get the ship right on where it needs to go, you got to get rid of all the bad apples in the locker room. And I'm not saying Will Levis is a bad apple, but I'm saying the leadership qualities that he's showing, which is not much. And if you wear a C on your chest, you ought to carry that with pride, man. And I don't think he carries that with pride. And that's another thing about wearing the captain's C on your chest. You become almost bigger and better than all the other players on your team. They look at you as a teacher, as a leader. I don't see that with this Titans team. Minus, Jeffrey Simmons from time to time, maybe Kenneth Murray from time to time, but I don't see it with a lot of these guys. Obviously, Lloyd Cushenberry's injured, but for me, if you're the quarterback of a franchise and you have a captain's C on your chest, you need to be the focal point and number one leader on that team, and he's not.
Oh, I'm with you on this, man. I just don't. I can't believe people want all this staff back. Give them another year. Why? I'm looking at this. I mean, they've been non-competitive in so many games this year. It's not even funny. I mean, you played the best team in football in the Lions. It's embarrassing. The Bills embarrassed them. Then you come back and you lose to an awful Jacksonville team. There was no up there. There's no passion. There's no desire. We see with our own eyes. As a college football coach told me, the eye in the sky never lies. You've heard that when you play. If you played any level of football, you've heard that from a coach. The eye in the sky doesn't lie. And you look at these last 4 games, awful, which comes to mind. How did the hell they beat Houston?
Honestly, that's a great question, Joe. How in the world did this team beat Houston? Honestly, it might be the point where Houston just my assumption and what I saw from the game, Houston was going through a little bit of a slump. They had those little injury bugs here and there, and I think it was just more of a chemistry thing, trying to get things back to where they were before. But I don't know. That's a great question.
Yeah, also the text line says, what is the answer to this team? If you get rid of everyone, who would you bring in for the new GM and the coach? Well, I think Amy Adams needs to hire somebody to be like a consultant or somebody with her to say, look, Here's what we need to do. Out of her circle of the, oh, Amy, you're the greatest thing ever. Yeah, make sure my paycheck goes through. You need somebody on the outside. Say, look, here's your problem. Here's a couple of GMs you could hire, and then let them go and do their thing. What's happening now is not working. This is a terrible football team. Terrible football team. So I just don't know the mindset of people that want to bring everybody back. It's okay to fire people in the National Football League. It's okay. It's okay if you tell Callahan, hey, man, thank you, but it's just not working out. It's okay. And to Rand and Brinker, whoever else is happening there, it's okay to do that and say, hey, we're not getting anywhere. Ben in Cumberland City, the team is a mess. No accountability. Yes. You got a head coach who doesn't have a clue. No leadership. Vrabel did more with less. He didn't have the spending spree that Rand gave Callie. He had 90-plus players suit up in a year. That's something that I'll never forget. You win the AFC, your number one seed, you have 90-plus players. That's because you're coaching, man. You're a leader. This thing now is a disaster. Disaster.
It really is. And it's unfortunate because this, like I said before, this team it was a really, really good team. Like we're talking AFC championship type team. And it just went from there to absolutely ground zero. And that's what I just can't wrap my head around. And I think too about, making changes to the coaching staff and the front office. I feel like Titans fans and also just sports fans in general, it's kind of like a job search. You quit a job or you get fired from a job, you get nervous. Oh my goodness, what's the next step? Like, oh my goodness, I need to find something immediately. And it may not come immediately, but then you got to wait around, you got to look around. That's what the Titans should be doing. They should be perusing the options that they have outside of their building. And if you don't do that, then what are you really doing? You're just settling for mediocrity. You shouldn't settle for mediocrity. You should settle for winning championships. That should be the only mentality in that building, is to win championships.
Yeah, I agree with you. And watching that effort yesterday, let me ask you this, Dr. Crane. How in the hell and why do they keep trotting out Nicholas Petit-Frere out there? I watched last night. I watched yesterday. I watched this morning again. He's awful. He gets put on his ass all the time. He can't block. There are a billion people on this planet over 21 years old. You can't find an adequate or an average right tackle. He's terrible. Why is he out there?
Joe, that's another question I cannot answer. I will say I can offer my services to be a practice squad defensive end, and I will spin cycle him like there's no tomorrow. Like it's ridiculous. Like every time the broadcast camera zooms in on Mason Rudolph, you see another number in there, and it's 78. It's Nicholas Petit-Frere. He's bad. He is extreme. I don't know who's worse, Jalen Duncan or Nicholas Petit-Frere or Andre Dillard or Nicholas Petit-Frere. It's a battle for who's terrible in recent years for the Titans.
Well, I blame didn't Robinson draft him? No, or maybe not. Yeah, he did 2 years ago, yes. Right? 22. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's just terrible. All right, here's one. For those who want to fire 7008, for those who want to fire everyone right now, 7008. For those who want to fire everyone right now, what would have happened to the Dallas Cowboys if Jerry Jones fired Jimmy Johnson after that first 1-15 season? Jimmy Johnson was a massively successful college football coach who had a vision when he got to the Cowboys with his old college teammate and Jerry Jones to improve that team. That is unfair. Brian Callahan is nowhere near Jimmy Johnson in that 1989 season. Plus, they had Aikman, who they drafted, who was terrible in 89, but he still had promise. You knew that he was going to be good. You don't know Will Levis is going to be good. You know the Callahan. We've seen enough. We've seen enough of this stuff. Just stop. In 2 weeks, whatever, in January, say it's okay. We've seen you guys. Thanks for your effort. We're going in a different direction. I just can't believe they want to bring all these people back. That blows my mind, Nick.
Well, I mean, I've been saying this previously and whatnot about Brian Callahan, if you should fire him, not fire him. I mean, yeah, maybe it is time to move on from guys. I mean, here's my issue. It's Ran Carthon, and everybody's thinking, well, if they get a good draft pick this year, maybe this is the year that let Rand cook. This is it. This could be Rand's year. I mean, I don't know if I trust anybody in that front office for this upcoming year's draft. And with that being said, Joe, I don't know if the Ran Carthon, Brian Callahan hunt together duo is what this team needs for this year's draft either.
No. Are we going to have another press conference this week where he drops F-bombs and look at me, I'm a tough guy and I care about my team, blah,
I
blah,
hope
blah,
not.
blah.
I don't know. I hope not, because that would be terrible for a producer's perspective.
It'd be really bad for us. That dump button already has been worn out today or this week.
Yeah.
Let's not get it even more worn out.
Yeah, no, I hope not, Joe. And that's the unfortunate thing about Callahan is, to me, that was solely a signal to the locker room about, obviously he wasn't the one that brought it up, but somebody asked him the question, and obviously he's going to sound off on it. And hopefully that would have been something for the locker room to react to, and they just didn't. So it's all question marks.
To me, like I said, that just his press conference reeked of desperation. It was a man who's like, all right, I know I'm done and I'm out of here. And it's sad too, because I look at that, with NWI and Ridley and Tyler Boyd, you got 3 pretty good receivers on this team, right? And then you got Spears looked good yesterday, even though they know they run the ball, he still did well. I mean, there's some talent on this team. It's just that there's not a lot of it, and I think they're poorly coached, and it's reflecting in 3-12. And now you got to go play Jacksonville and Houston to finish out the season. I don't know. All right, we'll take another break, guys. We'll come back, talk more about this. We'll try to get some positivity for you on this Monday, 2 days out from Christmas.
Yep.
Coming up at 10:30, our good buddy Chip Walters will join us. MTSU basketball plays the Tennessee Vols tonight. Tennessee's ranked number 1 in the country. MTSU's never played a number 1 team. So, boy, that'd be a great upset on Rocky Top tonight. Anyway, much more from you. Want to hear from you, 615-737-1025. The Chase and Big Joe Show, 1025-1063, The Game.
And also tune in to 93.3 Totally Hits, Totally Nashville, as Joe was talking about, for tonight's MTSU men's basketball game. The Blue Raiders take on Tennessee in Knoxville. Tip-off is at 6, with pregame beginning at 5:30. Coverage will also be available to Totally Hits, Totally Nashville app and TotallyHitsNashville.com.
A first down, it's Taylor again. And Taylor explodes. Taylor's into the open field. He has one man to beat. No chance. And he'll hold on to the ball with two hands into the end zone. Touchdown, Colts, 65 yards.
That's life.
That indeed is life.
That's what all the people say.
The Titans are definitely at that bottom point of the season for sure. Back here on Chasing Big Joe show, Nick Frazier, Big Joe Dubin, David James behind the glass. Hey, tune in this Friday to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game for Vanderbilt football, presented by Prince's Hot Chicken. The Commodores will take on Georgia Tech in the Birmingham Bowl, with pregame beginning at 1 o'clock and kickoff at 2:30. Coverage is also available on the 102.5 The Game app and thegamenashville.com. Talking a little bit more about the Tennessee Titans here, but we have a quick call about the Tennessee Volunteers. Another shellacking over this past weekend. Dr. Locke is on our phone line. Go ahead, Dr. Locke.
What's going on? What's going on, Big Joe? I mean, I had to listen to a lot of trash, and now we're gonna not even talk about it. We're gonna beat this dead drum Titan nonsense. Okay, everybody knows they suck. Let's get to the more pressing issue, those Tennessee Volunteers. Let's talk about how they suck. You think you're going to bring that weak sauce up to 17 degrees, cold weather? It makes leather-like skin. It makes Nordic-like warriors. And you brought that sissy, lily, SEC patty cake, two-hand touch BS up to Columbus in the shoe? And you thought that SEC football was going to play? Ooh, woo! OH! Yeah, talk about that, you weak sucks.
Okay. All right. Is he done?
I guess so.
All right. Here's the deal. Tennessee got beat by a better coached, better football team with athletes all around. I don't think Nico's worth a damn. I think it showed in that game. They were overwhelmed. Congrats to Ohio State. Tennessee fans should just say, we got our butt kicked, and that's it. You got outcoached and outplayed. That's simple, right? Did I miss something?
No, I don't get the gist of that call, because he's right. I mean, I'm not a believer in Nico either. I mean, look, if you look at his 19 touchdowns in the season, 15 of those came from UTEP, Vandy, Mississippi State, NC State, Oklahoma, Chattanooga, and Kentucky.
Yeah.
Like, come on. That's the majority of his passing touchdowns coming from subpar games this past season. So I don't know. I think it's more on the committee. I think the committee got it wrong. I don't want to say Tennessee's not, a terrible team, but I don't know if they should have been that high going up against Ohio State. I think Ohio State was, kind of put in a rough spot. I think the committee got it wrong when seeding these teams. But yeah, I'm with the caller. I mean, Tennessee did not play well at all.
Well, I mean, Ohio State lost by a point to Oregon, which is a great football team. And then they completely, in the bad versus Michigan. And so it's like, well, Michigan, and that's Ohio State team. That's all they care about. That's a good football team. I mean, I thought Tennessee would be competitive. I thought they probably might win that game just for the fact of, Ohio State had not seen an offense like that. What happened to that offense? It was like, go, 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 go. What happened to that? To me, that's the offensive Heupel in 22. Is like people couldn't figure it out. Now it's like, all right, run a play, wait 12, 15, 18 seconds, run another play. What happened to the up-tempo, just go at all costs? I saw none of that Saturday night.
It's like a marriage, Joe, the honeymoon phase. I feel like when you look back at Josh Heupel when he first came into the SEC, yeah, he had that high-octane offense. It was quick, fast, this, that, and the other. But you look now, it just feels like when you get to a big stage, especially against Ohio State, for the Tennessee Vols' sake, I think Heupel kind of got conservative with his play calling, and obviously the injury of Dylan Sampson throughout the game as well. But you can't be conservative out of the gate, and I think that's kind of what it was for me.
No, Sampson's a great player, and obviously, but I mean, do you think he would have made a difference watching that Ohio State team swarm around? I think they exposed the Tennessee defense, and here's the deal. I read this Sunday morning. All right, that football team loves their head coach. And when people are talking about how terrible he is and how they want him gone, that football team rallied around their head coach. They were not going to lose for Ryan Day on Saturday night. Despite him not beating Michigan and all that other nonsense, they were not going to lose for him. And it showed. And after the game, just the affinity those guys had for him and the words they said for him, they were not going to lose that game. I just think Tennessee got out coached and outplayed. No excuse. Tennessee should not have any excuses. They just got their butt kicked. That's it. Bottom line.
Yeah, and then you regroup in the offseason and try to, I guess, manipulate the portal and get some really good players. But I don't know. I'd be concerned if I was a Tennessee fan going into this offseason, in my opinion.
I just didn't. I'm sorry. I'm out on Nico. I'm just like, oh, it's only one game. Man, I just down the stretch, I didn't see. I don't know. Am I wrong on this? I probably am, but I didn't see like that, Oh, and you could, by the way, put your Heisman talk away for him in 25. There's no way. Not even close.
Hey, he's got a great arm, but does not, show up in the big games. And they say about big time games, they make big time players. Big time players make big time plays. Yeah, no, that didn't happen with Nico at all.
What happened to your SMU Mustangs?
Yeah, listen here, Joe. I'm going to explain something about that game. Obviously, that did not go the way I thought it would. I'm not backtracking at all when I say this. I have zero affiliation with that school, but at the same time, when you have a video game that kind of drags your fandom, I guess I should say, to that university, it's fun. But yeah, I will say Kevin Jennings looked absolutely awful. I mean, people said he was like one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the nation. Looked very, very, very bad over this past weekend. And so with that being said, I don't think they had a backup quarterback either. And I think it was like a freshman or something because their other one, Preston Stone, ended up going to the portal. And yeah, it went bad for him. I think Penn State ran the ball 30 plus times, something like that. So
yeah,
just Penn State took precedent and said, hey, this is our ball game. We're going to take it over. And I mean, yeah, they have the easiest route to the national title now. Penn State does.
Some of those throws, Dr. Crane, from your quarterback, I've seen better throws in a powder puff league.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, some of those throws were awful.
I mean, I'm kind of baffled. Like, I'm already stuttering about it, but I'm baffled because they had a really good season, regular season, but then it goes to the point of, well, look at who they played. And then people are like trying to manipulate that. And you go up against a team like Penn State. I mean, Penn State's a decent football team. I honestly thought that they'd have a little bit more of a problem with Kevin Jennings and the Mustangs, but apparently not. And so that's my only caveat to this is that, I was let down by Kevin Jennings.
Well, the thing I've got now is I got more questions and answers for that committee going in 25. I mean, what do you do? I mean, I don't know what you do. I think Tennessee belonged at 10-2 and pretty tough schedule they had. I don't know what was the committee trying to be cute by putting in an SMU and an Indiana.
It sounds like it. I mean, it obviously looked like it too, because you look at all these people on social media. Well, you need to have this team in. They had like 11 wins. Like, you got to do all that. No, you go off the best team that's out there. And we did a little project, I guess you should say, a little experiment probably 2-3 weeks ago, Joe, on the weekend show. If the BCS had its top 12 rankings and used it in a playoff format, you know who's in over Clemson or SMU? It's Alabama. And I think Alabama, even though they were 9-3, I still think they put up a better fight against Penn State.
Oh, all day long. And that's it. I mean, so I think the committee was trying to be cute, but then the counter, don't lose to Oklahoma, don't lose 3 games in the SEC. So the question comes down, is losing 3 games in the SEC better than losing 1 game in an Indiana team? And I know they lost to Ohio State with the schedule you had. I don't know. And I don't think we're going to know that going forward. That's why I get all these questions. And so it's obvious strength of schedule does not matter. So just, but at the end of the day, win your games. And then Kiffin tweeting out that nonsense, just, I'm not a fan of him anyway. So just stop. I think if you lose 3 games, it might be boom. I think they'll give you 2 games to lose from now on.
Yeah. I mean, I could see a 3-loss team squeaking in there. I feel like if you're riding a hot hand and you're a 3-loss team, yeah, I think you could get let into the playoff. I mean, I feel like it's going to be off of momentum in some regard. And I think there was too much momentum put into this year's committee picks for the playoff, Joe.
Yeah, I just, again, trying to be really cute. All right, Dr. Crane, we'll take another break, come back. We want to hear from you about the Titans, Vols. It's your show. It's a therapy show. It's 11 o'clock with you today. 615-737-1025. We'll take another break. This is the Chase and Big Joe Show. 1025, 1063 The Game.
Little Wham bringing us back here on the Chase and McJoe Show. Nick Frazier alongside Big Joe Dubin and David Janes. Before the break, we were talking a little bit about college football and the Vols, and obviously the Tennessee Titans as well. It's a therapy session today. Call in, text in, 615-737-1025. Joe, where should we start? I mean, obviously, or where should we continue is the better way to put it. I mean, the Vols obviously get shellacked over the weekend. Tennessee Titans get somewhat shellacked in attempt of a comeback in some regard. I don't know how to really describe that, but
Right.
it's just absolutely terrible for all of Nashville and / Tennessee sports.
Do we have is Sudzo on the line?
Yes, he is actually. Yes, we have a Sudzo.
Bring on.
All right.
Sudzo, JoJo,
What's happening, man?
what's up, buddy? Happy holidays to you and everybody.
All right, let's put this out there. Sudzo is a former Indiana University football player. So the floor is yours, Sudzo.
Well, Big Joe, listen, I'm a little hurt. My wife's saying, Big Joe's taking shots at Indiana. Big Joe's taking shots at Indiana. I'm like, JoJo's got to do what JoJo's going to do. But my one point to this whole thing, Joe, is when you look at the 4 home teams this past weekend, they are all blue blood programs with over 85 to 100,000 home seat stadiums. It's going to be hard for any team to go in there and win, regardless whether it's Indiana, SMU, Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina. It doesn't matter. Now, you can say whether that's a flaw or not, but I would just like to know, when's the last time an underdog has gone into one of these stadiums and won a game? So I just think while we can nitpick things, I think home field advantage, especially when these blue bloods host games, is a huge advantage that shouldn't be overlooked, and the other team just be told they're trash when many of teams have gone in there and got blown out.
How do you explain Northern Illinois?
I don't think you can. Listen, these teams aren't perfect, and you can explain that. But when everyone says, well, Alabama would give these guys a game, it's just easy for me to say, well, they went to Vanderbilt and got beat. Even with 2 losses, they knew all they had to do was win out. They went to Oklahoma and leg and egg. So for everyone just to flippantly say, oh, they would have given them a better game, well, there's a counterpoint to everyone's argument. And I just think that's where everyone gets so emotional. It's like we start looking at 9, 10, 11, 12, March Madness, 64, 65, 66. Those teams aren't going to win it anyway. And it's just kind of just fodder to fill time, in my opinion.
Do you believe Indiana should have been in?
I believe Indiana took care of business and did what they had to do. These schedules were made 3-4 years ago. These schedules were made before NIL deals. These schedules were made before the transfer portal, and they did what they had to do. Do I think that looking at Alabama's schedule, do they go 11? Does Alabama go 11-1 with Indiana's schedule and get in? That's my question to you.
That's a great point. I think they probably do go 11-1 and get in if they have Indiana's schedule.
Okay, so that's my point. And then my point would also be, we lost to the number 2 ranked team and whatever and Notre Dame was. Those are the 2 losses. We didn't get tripped up by an average Michigan team like Alabama got tripped up by Vanderbilt and Oklahoma. We get tripped up by an average Washington team like Ole Miss lost to Kentucky at home. So we can sit here. Indiana took care of business, and they got in. So would Alabama play Notre Dame or anyone any tougher? Hard to say, but I can tell you it's 20 degrees. There's 88,000 fans. It's going to be tough for anyone to go in there and win. And that's why I think everyone just needs to pump their brakes. You get a home field game, it's going to be a huge advantage. And I don't think people should overlook that regardless of the opponent.
Would Indiana have won had they had Anthony Thompson?
I think if we had Anthony Thompson, we're probably 13-0, buddy.
And moving on. Hey, but you know what? Though it's basketball
you gotta remember,
season,
you're
right?
going to be 13-0 with some stellar backup tailbacks on that team, Joe.
True, but it is basketball season now, right?
Not at Indiana, baby. We're a football school. It's just that, plain and simple.
All right, man. Love you. Merry Christmas. See you.
I love you, JoJo. Have a good one, buddy.
Appreciate the call there, Sudzo. I mean, he's got a point. I mean, you take care of business. Yes. And I even mentioned earlier in the year, and you know this, Joe, I think if Tennessee and Indiana played in the first round of the college football playoff in Neyland Stadium, I think Indiana wins that game. Easy. not easy, but a little bit more on their side, their favor.
I think after what I saw Saturday night from Nico, you might be right, man. I mean, you might be right. I was just that. I'm not saying somebody said, well, they were ill prepared. I think they were prepared just fine. I just think they got beat by a better football team.
Yeah.
And they played 10 times. Ohio State's winning 10 times. They just got beat by a better football team. That's it.
We're going to squeeze another call in here. Taylor on some college football here. What did you got for us, Taylor?
Hey guys, I really enjoy the show, but I wasn't going to call in. I texted in, wasn't going to, but then I heard the Indiana talk and I had to dial in. Indiana didn't play anybody this year, so except for Ohio State, and they got boat raced. So that's just a terrible argument. I do think, like what the caller was saying, I do think that if you give Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina, and you put them in these quote unquote blue blood schools that he challenged anyone to say would go in there and win. Michigan was an underdog, just went into Ohio State and won. So you can call Michigan a blue blood. They sure are, but they just went into Ohio State, finished 7-5 and won. And then Ohio State turns around and blows Tennessee out. So my point here is give me South Carolina, give me Alabama, give me Ole Miss playing Notre Dame, Indiana, Clemson, SMU, Penn State. Give me any of those because I'm a Gamecock fan and I have a feeling we'd go in there and win. So my second point is before the previous break, there was a statement made that finish hot, you get in, what have you. But I don't even think that's true because if you look at South Carolina, they finished on a 6-game winning streak. They blew out Oklahoma, which Alabama lost to. They blew out Vanderbilt, which Alabama lost to. Yes, they lost to Ole Miss. That was the one true big blowout, but they had 2 losses by a combined 5 points, and it was to LSU and Alabama. So Carolina, in my opinion, yeah, I'm a homer, but you finished 6 games on a 6-game winning streak, and you beat the ACC champion at home to close out the season. I just don't think the committee looked at anything except for double-digit wins, and I think that they thought that was going to be kind of the mask that they could hide behind, but the committee's been exposed because I think you give me Alabama, Ole Miss, or South Carolina, I think they're all – whoever it is, I think they're in the second round, and then all gloves are off from that point. So that's kind of my point. Had to get it out there.
Appreciate the call.
Perfect.
Taylor.
Thank you.
Take care, man. Yeah, Joe,
take that, Sudzo. Take that, Sudzo.
Well, I'd say Taylor makes a solid point, though, because I'm with him on, I mentioned earlier, if you're a hot team, you should be in. And to that point, I think he's right. I mean, South Carolina was one of those teams that deserved to be in my opinion, over I guess I should say it now looking back at it. Title, I guess your conference title wins, then maybe you do that as well. But I don't know. This committee definitely is flawed. It has to be reevaluated in some aspect. But we'll get more into that in the second hour, right, Big Joe?
Yeah, and we do it real quick. Sudzo made some good points about those 4 home games were all on blue bloods, and it really raised the level of what you're watching and the appearance of everything. I don't know what the perfect situation is. If you said, all right, what's perfect for this? I don't know. And that's why you have sports talk shows, because we can argue about it, but we'll figure out that the next hour. All right, hour 1 is done. Chase McCabe is off. Congrats to Chase. He got yet another LinkedIn certification for cloud storage. He's over in Charlotte picking that up. He'll be back with us on Thursday. All right, hour 2 ahead. Dr. Crane's in. David James behind the glass. This is the Chase and Big Joe Show. 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hour number 2 of the Chase and Big Joe show. Nick Frazier, Big Joe Dubin, and David James along for the ride. We are here broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Joe, as we were talking about before the break, talking about a little bit of the college football committee. Did they get it right? What teams should have been in the playoff, and where can we fix this going forward? And Joe, I really don't know where this committee kind of got a lot of their picks from. I mean, we had a caller, Taylor, call in about they just looked at double-digit wins. Like or double-digit win margins, I guess I should say. Maybe that's what they got to look at. I don't know. That, to me, Joe, I think this committee just needs to be moved and then bring in a new, kind of like the Titans, bring in a whole new regime.
It's funny. This is set off on our text line. Sudzo has set off a firestorm on our text line about the college football committee. Let's see here. Let's read this. Jeff says, I do think some better teams are left out year after year, but I also think it must be done because the teams from other conferences from other areas of the nation are left out of the national title race. How do you avoid NCAA football becoming a de facto smaller version of the NFL led by the SEC and Big 10 or Big 12? That's a great point. I mean, do I think Boise State deserves to be in the Final 12? Yeah, because they were the top group of 5 school that deserved to be in there. Do I think they deserve a first-round bye? Absolutely not. I don't think they deserve to be in there. He says, Tennessee got beat by more points by Ohio State than Indiana did. I did not know that. Ouch. Did you know that?
I did. Yeah, Indiana lost to 27-17, and Tennessee lost like 42 to 17, something like that. I mean, that's a big margin for sure. And that's why I think, like I said earlier in my comment about Indiana going into Knoxville, I think they would not boat race Tennessee, but definitely beat them.
Oh, no doubt on all that. And that's it. It's like, so somebody said, Joe, what's the perfect scenario for this committee? I don't know. I don't know. We could gripe all day about this, but I don't strict the schedule's got to be something about that. But I mean, Suns had a good point. I mean, we talk about that too, about flip-flopping schedules. If Alabama played Indiana's schedule, if Indiana played Alabama's schedule, what's Indiana's record?
They're a middle of the pack team, probably like 7-5.
I think so. I mean, but again, that is all perception and hypothetical. So I don't know. But at the end, here's what happens, Dr. Crane. At the end, the team that wins it is a team that should have won it, right? And he makes a good point. Again, back to Sudzo. I mean, do we expect Clemson to run the table? I didn't, right?
No. I mean, they were definitely a dark horse for sure, but I wouldn't say, run the table.
No, the same goes for SMU. I mean, it's cute when the 15 seed beats the number 2 seed in the tournament, but they're not going to win the whole thing. But it's good to upset the apple cart for a little bit. All that, at the end of the day, the teams that are going to be in the Final Four are the teams that deserve to be in the Final Four. You probably have Oregon in there, Georgia, Penn State route looks really good now, but of where they're going. So it's just, I love it's going to carry on through the next year, but I don't think I'd want to be on that. Archie Manning was on the original committee and he got off because he had some of the conflict or something. No, he got off because he's a smart man. Because I don't want to be on that committee. Would you want to be on that committee?
I mean, I'd like to try it out, but I wouldn't want to be there for more than 3-4 playoff seasons.
I just think it would be one of those things of just, no, man. I don't know. But anyway, going forward, you look at it now, I think Oregon and Georgia will probably collide when I guess is the final game in Atlanta. Where's the final game?
I believe it's Atlanta, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just don't.
Let me run something by you, Joe. Let me just run something by you real quick. Because, like I mentioned earlier, I teased about the BCS playoff rankings and so forth. If they were to use those rankings for the first-round games.
Right.
You'd have Indiana hosting a home game playing Boise State, okay? That'd be one game, 8-9 seed. You'd have Ohio State hosting SMU, 5-12 game. Then you'd have Penn State hosting Alabama, 6-11 game. And then Tennessee hosting Arizona State as a 7-10 matchup. To me, I'd rather see those first-round games than what we saw this past weekend, because those first-round games in the BCS more than likely will be single-digit margin games.
Wow. Okay.
Because, I mean, you look at your first-round buys, you have Oregon at 1, And then they don't have to go up against either a Tennessee or Ohio State. You look at Oregon, they're going up against either Indiana or Boise State. And kind of like to the caller Taylor earlier about these first-round games, they're just fodder. That's really what they are. We're just waiting around for the second round to come along, and then you have all your blue bloods. They win off and go on to the semifinals and so forth. That's essentially what it is. This committee has screwed up this whole entire situation. There was already a set in stone ranking in place that, we've had to mix it all up. We've had to go with, let's go with the playoff. Let's go with an actual committee. I feel like we've taken computers out of what really probably should be used in a situation like this. Whereas if you just go off of somebody's, naked eye test, yeah, it can help. I think you could use both things to benefit for this, not just one thing or the other, both.
Oh, I agree with you. Also, let me bring this up too. The moment the game before the pregame where the Tennessee football team came out with their shirts off, I knew then they were going to lose.
I mean, yeah. I mean, they're just.
I was like, stop it. Just be humble. Go out there and let your play do the talking. When they all came out there with their shirts off, I was like, you got to be kidding me. This could be bad if it turns this way. And it was bad. It looked dumb. It was like, I would have, if I'm Heupel, I'd have been like, nah, don't do that again.
Yeah, and to the point about just the environment, you taking your shirt off pregame, all the above, kind of back to the game itself, like, if you look at Heupel's play calling, and maybe this is why he was a little bit more conservative, because when you get into those colder environments, it's hard to really throw the rock. It's hard to throw the ball because that ball feels like a rock. So when you run, it's going to be hard to grip the ball. And I mentioned this past weekend as well. It's hard to grip the ball when you're a running back in cold weather. You're going to have to double arm that ball, and it's tough. So maybe that's the reason why Heupel's offense was a little bit at a different tempo. But, yeah, they got shellacked against Ohio State 42-17. Joe, it's just – yeah, if I were a Tennessee fan, like I said before, I'd be concerned going into this offseason because, I mean, is it the honeymoon phase that's now worn off? Like, what is it for this Vols team? Do you have to look forward to maybe going to the portal and finding a new quarterback, or is it going to the portal and finding a new running back? Well, I mean, that's my biggest question. If I'm a Vols fan, I don't know where I turn to.
Well, a few things. The ball's heavy for Ohio State, too. He had no problem throwing the ball. He had no problem. I just think that can we stop? Look, the shotgun from the 1 yard line going in or going out, I hate that. Can we stop these wide receiver screens? Because, sorry, Chris Sanders, but wide receivers don't want to block unless you're Juwan Jennings. Nobody wants to block. And so they start those wide receiver screens. You get nowhere. Stop running that play. It never works. It didn't work Saturday night either. I don't know if the shine's off of Heupel, but where's that offense? Where's the high-powered offense that go, where guys are faking injury and laying down because you can't keep up? I mean, the whole point of that Heupel offense, Dr. Crane, was to complete so much confusion in the secondary, not on the line of scrimmage, but in the secondary, that you had guys pointing at each other and like, you get this guy, what's going on there? That you didn't have time to breathe nor think. What happened to that? There was none of that Saturday night. And don't give me because it was cold either. There was none of that. And during the stretch of the season, there was none of that as well. I don't know what happened to that.
Maybe they're too big for the moment, Joe. I don't know. That maybe the Vols are too big for the moment. That's honestly my only answer to Josh Heupel in that offense, and honestly that defense as well. Because like you just said, the defense, no communication at all. Will Howard had no problem throwing the ball. I don't know. I'd be, like I said, I'd be concerned if I was a Vols fan.
Yeah, I saw Vol Twitter had a thread like the question was, are you out on Josh Heupel now? It made me laugh because it's like 72 hours ago he was the Woody Hayes, Bo Schembechler college football, and now it's like, hey, are we sure he's our guy? Look, you just got beat by a better team. That's it. You had a great season. You went 10-2, well 10-3 now, but you just got beat. You got beat. You got outcoached. It happens. It happens to every team, every coach. At some point, you get outplayed, all of that. But, I mean, kudos to Ohio State. I mean, they look great, and they played for their coach, Dr. Crane. They played for Ryan Day Saturday night.
Yeah, and it's crazy the temperature on Ohio State fans wanting Ryan Day out. It's just we live in this short fuse microwave society now. It just blows my mind. But, Joe, we got some calls. We're going to get on to the other side. You're listening
Yeah,
to
take it out, baby.
Yes, sir. You're tuned in to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game today. But for the TransPerfect Music City Bowl on Monday, December 30th, you can tune into this show as well. They will have the pregame coverage starting at noon, and kickoff is set for 1:30. The Music City Bowl coverage is presented by High Five Buys.
You know Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen.
Get in the holiday spirit,
Comet
David
and
James.
Cupid
Love it.
and
Hey, this
Donner
week's
and
Nashville's
Blitzen.
best deal is from Academy in
What do
Goodlettsville.
you
More than just training
recall?
space. Here, every
The
class and
most
is a journey into the art of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu taught by their dedicated instructors. Oh, even more Rudolph. How about that? They have a state-of-the-art facility that offers everything from muscle recovery services to top-tier training equipment. Go to thegamenashville.com/deals to get $150 a month of unlimited classes for just $75. Back here on the Chase and Big Joe show, Nick Frazier along with Joe Dubin and David James talking a little bit about Vols football, the concern around Josh Heupel, concern around Nico Iamaleava, and along with some concern from Vols fans that are calling in now. We'll go to Edward. Edward's on the phone line here on the Wilson County Hyundai phone line here at 102.5 The Game. Go ahead, Edward.
Morning, guys. Enjoy your show. Little therapy for a UT fan. I'll add to it since you all are counselors also. I think UT fan is always on the outside looking in. They would like to be able to run with the teams that have multiple national championships. Notre Dame, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, USC, Oklahoma. Those are they think they run with those. They've won with 2 national championships. They won back when they played with leather helmets. And then the other one they won in 98 to 99 when, courtesy of Mitch Mustang, the quarterback for Arkansas, fumbles the ball in the closing minutes. However, I believe there is a disrespect on the national level, history-wise, for the University of Tennessee. Paul Hornung was on a losing Notre Dame football team, won the Heisman Trophy. Clearly, Johnny Majors should have won it that year. I can't remember the year, 96. Peyton Manning clearly should have won the Heisman Trophy winner. And they gave it to a defensive player. Unheard of almost. So, UT fan, I think they need to come to some realization. They're not a mid-level college. They are the upper echelon, but they are a mid-level college victor program. And so, I hate to say it, but I think once they come to some acceptance with where they are, they're with the schools like Iowa, University of Iowa, Iowa State, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, maybe bring their expectations down a little bit because they couldn't wait to get rid of Coach Fulmer. And we see what happened there. They're still trying to recover from it. Anyway, those are just my thoughts.
Thanks for the
All
call,
right,
Edward. We
Enjoy
appreciate
your
Thanks,
it.
buddy.
Thank you, sir.
By the way, Edward, real quick, that was Clint Sterner, not Mitch Mustang, that fumbled the ball in 1998. Only reason I know that because I was on the ground as a cameraman and saw the whole thing unfold behind me. So Clint Sterner. But thank you, Edward. You make a good call, but you know what? The rest of the country doesn't care. They just there's a bias, if so. But I mean, look, a lot of people hate Alabama and hate Florida. I mean, so it's just the way the nature of the game is, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's college football at its finest, is hating a lot of schools around.
Yeah.
If it's the SEC, ACC, whatever school it is, there's going to be some hatred towards them.
You're right.
Well, we'll get to one more call here. Joe, Steven wants to talk about the Vols. Go ahead, Steven.
Good morning, fellas, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.
The day Heupel was hired, I called into these airways, and I expressed 2 points, and I'm going to reiterate those 2 points really quickly. First off, Heupel's offense is a gimmick offense. It's not a scheme. Let's go 90 miles an hour. Let's confuse these kids and go. It's a modern-day version of the triple option. That's it. That's why good teams like Georgia can defend it. They've got 5-star cornerbacks. Hey, I'm going to lock on number 5. I'm going to lock on number 13. We're going to play man. Doesn't matter what they do. It's a gimmick offense. Once you figure the gimmick out, it's over. Second point, Heupel isn't the guy. Heupel is Tennessee's version of Mark Richt. Now, Heupel hopes he can achieve the level that Mark Richt did. My point in saying that is this. Heupel is to get Tennessee back to winning 9 and 10 games every year. That's it. Richt never went to Atlanta. Richt really never competed for a national championship, but he set the program up to go find the guy to compete. And that's who Heupel is. He's just to get Tennessee back to winning 9 and 10 games every year, pull it out of the dumpster fire that it was, so that way when the right guy comes along, they can pounce, get them, and actually compete with Ohio State, Michigan, Bama, so on and so forth. That's who Heupel is. So I'm fine with it. I wish we had Ryan Day. I hate Ohio State. I hate Ohio State fans. They're the most arrogant fans I've ever met. But to want to get rid of a coach at 66 and 10, you guys are morons. I would love for Ryan Day to come coach Tennessee. But until Ryan Day becomes available, I'll ride with Heupel and win 9 or 10 games every year instead of going with Derek Dooley or Butch Jones. I'm fine with Heupel.
So is Ryan Day your number one, I guess, coaching option when Heupel is gone?
Well, I mean, let's not be stupid. If Kirby Smart ever left Georgia, come on, let's go. But if Ryan Day got fired out of Ohio State, I would shake Heupel's hand and I'd load the moving truck up. Ryan Day, let's go.
Okay, thanks for the call, Steven.
Yeah, thanks for the call. Can you imagine that? Look, Heupel's not going anywhere, and I get it, and I get the gimmicky stuff of that. But yeah, the Georgia may be able to stop that, but I mean the other schools, you know, that high-powered offense go, and again, it's to create confusion in the back half of the defense, and I don't know why it went away from that. I don't know. I just know that Saturday night they just got beat. They got physically beat up and down the line of scrimmage and in game planning and everything else. It was just a bad night for Tennessee football against Ohio State.
Joe, it might be a bad night for Tennessee basketball as well coming up. We got Chip Walters, the voice of the MTSU Blue Raiders, coming up on the other side. The MTSU Blue Raiders take on Tennessee this evening. That should be a fun game, Joe. I was telling you off the air, this could be one of those games where it might be a slip-up and the Blue Raiders go marching into Knoxville to get a win. But we'll chat more about that with Chip Walters on the other side here on the here on the Chase and Big Joe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Well, you can hear that right there. You can hear more of that this evening as the MTSU Blue Raiders take on Tennessee Vols. We have the voice of the MTSU Blue Raiders, Chip Walters. Chip, welcome to the show, man.
What's happening?
You ready for tonight?
Getting there. We're over at the Food City Center right now, going through game day practice and checking with going through my notes and getting equipment set up. So we'll be ready to go when at 5:30 tonight when we go on the air on 93.3. And so Blue Raiders have been loose and having a good time out there right now.
All right, Chip, you had said, we talked to you. Is this correct? Middle Tennessee basketball has never played a number one team. Is that correct?
I think that's correct. They played a lot of top fives. We were talking about this the other day, and I know when Michigan State in the NCAA tournament, Michigan State was ranked number 2, but they were a 2 seed. And Middle played at Kansas, and Kansas was number 3 in the polls. But for whatever reason, it's just never worked out to where. I mean, you even go back to '82, like that Kentucky team that Middle beat was nowhere. They weren't in the top 10 in the rankings that year. But Middle's played a lot of top fives, but just have never played a number 1. But that'll all change tonight.
What do you? This Middle team has played really well, strong down the stretch. What is this Tennessee team, Chip, when you're looking at him, what makes this Tennessee team so good? Because they lost some really good talent off last year's team.
Well, they're well coached. That's one thing for sure. They've got, you look at just, when you've got a guy like Gainey who can come off the bench and he's not started a single game, but he's played in all 11. He's their second leading scorer. So Tennessee's very deep. They've got good size. I mean, they have height and all of that, but they've got big bodies. They're very athletic. They run the floor. As a team right now, they're shooting 49% from the field, 36% from 3, but from an efficiency standpoint, they're one of the few teams in the country. They're top 5 offensively, or a top 5 offensive team in the KenPom rankings, but they're also that good defensively, and they're in the top 5 defensively. They played a good schedule. Obviously, I think the win at Illinois last week was kind of, in my opinion, their signature win of the year. It was just a gutty, toughness kind of win, not a overly big offensive game for anybody. It was a 66-64 game. I just think they take on the personality of Rick Barnes, and that is all business and very, very tough, and they rebound the ball very, very well. So they're just they're just rock solid across the board.
Chip Wallace is with us here on the Chase and Big Joe show. Chip, looking at this MTSU basketball team, what's a guy like Justin Porter got to do tonight to kind of get the Blue Raiders over the hump and beat, honestly, the number 1 team in the nation?
Well, do what he does and not try to do too much. Don't go out there trying to hit an 18-point jump shot, whatever. just go out and do what you do. Justin Porter, he averages 15.8. You don't have to have a 28-point game from him, but you can't afford to have a 5-point game from him. Isam Mustafa, he's got to go out. He doesn't have to have a double-double, but he's got to go out and he's got to have 12 and 8, those kind of things. Cam Weston had 30 against Cal Baptist the other night. You can't always count on that. Middle's got to do what they have done so far to get them where they are, to be 9-3, and that is they've been very good defensively, in particular against the 3. Middle's the number 5 team in the country, 3-point field goal defense right now, giving up only 24.4%, while they've not been a great shooting team. They're 32% from three. But the other key, and where has kind of been their Achilles heel a couple of times this year, has been giving up offensive rebounds. Belmont got 19 offensive rebounds in that game over at the Curb Event Center. UAB had 17 offensive rebounds. You can't give up a ton of offensive rebounds and give Tennessee a bunch of easy second chance points. You've got to make them earn what they do and force them to take tough twos along the way and don't turn the ball over. You got to take care of the ball and don't give up offensive rebounds, and you kind of give yourself a shot the longer you play with this group.
Chip Walters is with us here on the Chase and McJoe Show. Chip, looking at this Tennessee team, obviously being 11-0, I mean, where do you see it in comparison to the MTSU's schedule this season so far? What games on the MTSU schedule is kind of, would you say, resemble a game like this tonight?
Well, going to UAB, who was picked to win the American, and Middle went down there and won. Blue Raiders played down in Myrtle Beach, played Ohio U, who was picked to win the MAC, beat them in overtime. South Florida, who won 26 games last year and won the American regular season, Middle beat them 95-88. So they have played. They haven't gone to a Big Ten place, but they've played a very solid schedule. So many teams that. Even Lipscomb, you think, Lipscomb is picked to win the ASUN and almost unanimously, going on the road, lost a close one at Belmont. So they've played in some tough places, but coming in, this is going to be the toughest environment you've faced, and it's going to be the best overall collection of talent that you've faced so far. So again, you have to go in, do what you can do, control your controllables, and don't try to do too much at any one given time. Just play within yourself and play like you've practiced to prepare for a game like this.
We're talking to Chip Walters, the voice of the Blue Raiders, who I think is the best voice in college athletics as MTSU takes on Tennessee tonight. I like this matchup, Chip, because now this is the last game before conference play before Middle Tennessee. You have a chance to size up where you are heading into conference play by playing the best team in the country right now. I'm excited for this game tonight.
Well, and I think Middle has no pressure on them at all. You come here, and whatever pressure there is on Tennessee because they're the one that are going to have the number one ranking. And you're right. You find out, you'll find out where your flaws are very quickly in a game against Tennessee, or, if you happen to have played Auburn. Tennessee's getting ready to, start their SEC schedule. Middle will open their Conference USA schedule in about 10 days. So it's your last tune-up. You're coming in here playing with house money, basically. Come in here, have fun, play like you've practiced, and see exactly where you are going into Christmas. And, this time of year, this week, when you have these games on the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, when teams are getting ready to, disband and go their separate ways for 3 or 4 days for Christmas, you sometimes have some weird things happen. And if you're focused, who knows, you might catch lightning in a bottle. You never know.
I think it'll be fun. Chip, as always, thank you. Have fun tonight. I really, really hope as an MTSU alum that you were on the call of an amazing upset tonight. But thanks for your time, brother. Be careful coming back.
Well, I will tell you this, and the last time these two teams played, I was fortunate enough to be on the call here at Thompson Bowling Arena in 2013, and the Blue Raiders left Knoxville with a victory. So it'd be nice to do that again. So
I love it. All right, Chip. Thanks, brother. Be careful.
Merry Christmas to you guys.
Merry Christmas, Chip. Thank you so much. Hey, if you want to check out that game, it'll be on 93.3 Totally Hits, Totally Nashville this evening with pregame coverage starting at 5:30 and tip-off at 6. Coverage is also available on Totally Hits Nashville app and TotallyHitsNashville.com. Should be a fun one tonight, Joe.
It should be. All right, Dr. Crane, we come back. you have moved positions out of the booth into the chair. By the way, for those asking, Chase McCabe is in Charlotte, getting yet another LinkedIn certificate for cloud storage. I mean, how many certificates does this guy need, right?
I mean, I'll tell you right now, his office here at the station is just full. I mean, you can't put anything on his wall. It's just all cloud storage. The guy, I mean, might as well give him 10 stars.
Yeah, right? For
He's the
LinkedIn,
goat
so
at
it's
cloud
awesome.
storage.
Yes. All right, coming up next, it is What Day Is It? And Celebrity Birthdays, America's favorite game, right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
We all know what that means. That music. It is that time for What Day Is It in Celebrity Birthdays. Joe, I've definitely been put in a different position. I'm no longer behind the glass for today. Just for today, that is. I mean, this it feels kind of odd. I'm not reading off the days. You know what I mean? This could be.
So that means David James has to step up.
Indeed,
I'm gonna try my darndest. I'm not gonna be like the Titans and not let the ball bounce my way. I'm just gonna try to have the ball bounce my way this time.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, all right, gentlemen. So first off, today it's Festive Day. That's what it says on here. It's also Human Light Day and National Bake Day, but not what you think. It is Bakers for Bake Day. You know, you bake a cookie, you bake a cake, all that stuff. So get out of your gutter, get the mind out of the gutter.
All right, well, go back to the first one. Festivus Day.
Festivus.
Okay, all right. Just making sure.
And then Human Light.
Okay.
And now it's a National. I'm gonna mess this up. National Pfeffernuss Day. It looks like a cookie. It's a German cookie. I have no idea, but that's what
I don't trust the Germans. All
I
right.
don't either. Yeah, but it's National Roots Day as well. So it's just for trees. Your roots are the trees.
All right.
And that's all the days today.
Well, thank you, David.
That's
No
it.
problem. I try. Yeah, I know it's a short day. I don't know why.
All right, are you ready? All right, time for celebrity birthdays. Got to get these within two. David James, this is your first time ever playing this game?
This is, and I'm very excited.
All right, but Dr. Crane will go first because we'll let the newbies always go second. All right,
That's
here we
fair.
go. Time for celebrity birthdays. All right, our first birthday, he is the voice of Montgomery Burns on The Simpsons and a bunch of other people. Actor Harry Shearer. How old is Harry Shearer today?
70.
75.
81 years old. That's all right, though. Next up, Susan Lucci. How old is Susan Lucci?
Can I get something that she was in by chance?
She lost like 45 Emmy Awards. She was a soap opera actress.
Okay. 76.
I'm gonna go 73.
78. Dr. Crane knows his cute little Italian women. Next up, Eddie Vedder. How old is Eddie Vedder? And it says, fun fact, Eddie Vedder was in Pearl Jam. Thanks.
62.
72.
He's 60. Dr. Crane's up 2-0. Very methodical.
All right.
Hitting the outside corner. Next birthday is, don't know who that is. Let's see who else. My goodness. Come on. Actress Joan Severance was on TV's Wise Guy. How old is Joan Severance today?
80.
I'm gonna go 77.
66. Jazz trumpeter Irvin Mayfield. Y'all better get this one. He's a legend.
78.
75.
47.
I'm sorry.
My goodness. My goodness. Actor Anna Marie Perez from Hannah Montana. We all know that. She's beautiful. How old is Anna Marie Perez?
40.
35.
34. David
Let's
James
go!
on the board. Love it. All right, here we go. Former Georgia Tech and San Diego Charger head football coach Bobby Ross. Now, he won a national championship with Georgia Tech in 90 and took San Diego to their only Super Bowl in 1994. How old is Bobby Ross?
67.
72.
88. Good job, guys. He is the most famous marathoner of all time.
$78.
I'm gonna go 69.
77. Dr. Crane's up 3-1. We got 3 left. Quite possibly the best linebacker to ever play football. Jack Ham, Hall of Famer for the Pittsburgh Steelers. How old is Jack Ham?
82.
80.
76. 2 left. He is the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers. He'll never coach college football again. How old is Jim Harbaugh?
Jim Harbaugh is He's got to be approaching his 70s, right? I'm gonna go 73.
60.
61.
There you go. I know my
Wait,
Harbaughs.
You thought Jim Harbaugh was 73?
Yeah. Why would, he's the younger brother of John.
Yeah, but he had like that whole
John's 62.
Yeah, but they had like that heart attack thing on the sideline or whatever it was earlier this season, right?
I don't think so.
Okay, never mind. I must be.
Yeah, I
dreaming.
mean, he had that. Okay. All right, so here we go. I love this. We're down to the final one. Dr. Crane's up 3-2. Now, this next birthday is somebody, had he not fumbled in the 2008 playoff game versus the Baltimore Ravens, the Titans would have won the game. But Algie Crumpler fumbled on the 5-yard line going in for a touchdown. How old is former Tennessee Titans tight end Algie Crumpler? This is for the win, Dr. Crane.
I'm going with 46.
44.
Oh, my goodness. At the buzzer, Dr. Crane wins. He's 47 years old.
Thank you very much.
Good game. Good game.
Well done. All right. Well done. David James, you competed. You went down. You were kind of like Tennessee. You had a nice little.
I tried my best. I got a participation trophy for that game, but it's fine. It's all good. I'll come back better and stronger next time.
What did we learn today, Dr. Crane, about it? Did we learn anything about anything?
I mean, we learned that, the Titans are bad. Something we kind of already knew. I mean, what else do we need to know, Joe?
I just need to know that she's going to clean house. Now, I'm on record. We've already seen what it is. 2014, you brought Wisden up back in 15. You know how terrible he was. This is the same thing. Clean house. Find yourself a GM who's had experience, knows what's going on, maybe the hot name in the league, and let them build this. I don't need to see this in 25, and I don't think anybody else does. And when we ask for questions and nobody can come back with a solid why you should bring these guys back, nobody had a solid answer. So that's where I stand, is that clean house. That's me. I'm on record. I think Titans fans are done. This team's terrible. They don't compete. And yes, I think they are soft. So you want to cuss at me, Brian Callahan? I don't care.
Okay. Well, Joe, thank you for that. Also, thank you for the rest of Nashville for listening today. Merry Christmas, Joe. Hopefully you have a great holiday with your family down there. And, happy holidays, Merry Christmas to everybody here in Nashville. But as for Nick Frazier, Joe Dubin, and David James, that'll do it for us today. Joe, take it away, bud.
All right, boys, thank you. As we leave the show, look, we know it's Christmas time. And look, I know it's a tough time for a lot of you guys out there, and I get this, but let me tell you this. Take time to reflect on you, right? You are still here. You have a mission. God has a purpose for you. You are here. Look, you made it through 24. There were times this year you didn't think you would make it, and you made it. And know that we love you and that God loves you, and your journey is beautiful. If you need to talk on your cell phone, you could call or text 988. Somebody's always there. Please, I implore you, talk to somebody if you're going through anything. We are always here for you. Reach out, hop in our DMs. We're here for you. Just let you know that we love you. And that, more importantly, as I say, God loves you. Boys, have a great day. Thank you.
Indeed. Hey, DVD's coming up next right here on 102.5 and 106.3, The Game.